hit. We have got our friend Fred Shanks and the chief of the Pearl Police Department, Dean Scott, in the studio. We've been talking about human trafficking in Mississippi, law enforcement. Dean, one of the things I wanted you to share with our audience, it's something that kind of struck me. You were talking about, and I hope I say this right, and I know you'll explain it, the way these traffickers like mark with tattoos the victims, and it's like a badge of honor, so to speak. Explain how that works.
Well, I hate to say it, not really a badge of honor. It's more like a branding a cow.
Well, yeah, okay. Badge of honor within their little group
correct.
of twisted minds.
Shows ownership, and basically it's the same as branding cattle, showing ownership. That way, if they got away or snuck away, they would be known in that area who they belong to, and they either be called or picked up and took back to them.
Unbelievable.
And each, as you move around, I think the situation we discussed that night, if you go, into Florida, up the East Coast, back through Chicago to the West Coast, come back through and come through the border states, Las Vegas, New Mexico. Nevada, New Mexico, Texas. Each group, if you will, or individual, usually has their own staple tattoo. They will mark on these females, and they make it prominent in the facial area or the neck, where it's easily seen. Again, just branding.
Unbelievable. I mean,
and it's sad.
It's
very
slavery,
sad.
essentially.
It's modern day slavery. There's no difference. When you're forced into servitude, be it and we discussed that night, labor trafficking and human trafficking. Sexual trafficking is a $1 billion a year business.
Unbelievable.
The internet, like we talked about that night, your phone, it's an a la carte menu now, and it's very sad. And these aren't girls that are proud of what they do. Most of them are broken-hearted, mentally, physically, and emotionally. And, they live every day hoping they live another day.
Just unbelievable that that's even occurring in this country. So, Representative Shanks, I know that this area has been one that Speaker of the House, Philip Gunn, has really crusaded on, and we passed some important legislation 2 sessions ago, right? I think it was.
It was. In 2019, Speaker Gunn got really passionate about human trafficking and our laws that we have, and he formed a commission, and during that, I think it was all summer, we met with people like Chief Scott and Sandy Middleton, who runs the Center for Violence Prevention, and came up with a bunch of great ideas, and it really tightened down all the human trafficking laws that we had. And through those efforts, we came up with House Bill, I believe it was 751, passed unanimously, and it really, of course, it focuses on the human trafficker, but it also focuses on all the anybody who makes money off of it. They may not be directly involved, but they are in some way benefiting from it, and they'll get locked up. And it was a great deal. I was really proud to be a part of that. And it actually, Mississippi now has an A rating on our human trafficking laws, which is probably not many states have that. So
it was something that Ms. Middleton fought very hard for with Speaker Gunn. I think they probably were talking 8 hours a day.
Wow.
Trying to get all that done. Sandy exhausted. She was exhausted mentally and physically, putting efforts into it.
Wow.
I know her and Speaker Gunn spent the time's overwhelming how much they spend on trying to get this all done.
I know it was a high priority for him.
It really was.
And he really took, I think, a sense of pride in getting that legislation through, and he was involved in sponsoring the bill as well, as I recall, right?
Yes,
so. And, of course, as you've said, Fred, that unanimous, right?
That's right.
Wasn't any question about it. It's just incredible that we even have to have such laws here in our state or in our country, that this kind of stuff is going on. Chief, and I know you don't want to digress too much into politics, but what's going on the border? How do you see that affecting the human trafficking activity here in the state of Mississippi? Have you seen an impact from that?
Not as of yet, but I think the border's its own issue right now.
Yeah.
It's a political hotbed, and I think it doesn't take anything to cut the news on for 2 minutes, and somebody's covering it. So at any point when you make it a swinging door to come across the border, you're just opening it up for anything. That's I think we talked about it that night as far as drugs, money, guns, and trafficking with people.
Unbelievable. Chief, it's obviously something that's been in the news more than I can ever remember over the last year since this incident with George Floyd, is the narrative coming from the detractors of law enforcement that say that systemic racism is just inherent and ingrained in law enforcement. I don't personally see that. I don't see it. Are there racists that are working in law enforcement? Sure. I think there are racists across the spectrum of society, no matter what profession there are. Is it systemic in that it is being sanctioned by those such as yourself that are running police departments and law enforcement agencies? No, I just don't believe that.
I mean, I laugh about it. It is, not to offend anybody, and I know it's going to, but it gets to the point where it's comical.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't have any credibility when you point to everything as that.
I mean, and I'll speak, and I'm not familiar with it, but I like everybody else, I saw the video of the officer that stopped the teacher. That gentleman's being polite as he can, trying to do his job.
I don't see how he did it.
And honestly. I admire him. That's all I can say. I'll leave it at that. He stayed professional, and what was sad about that situation, she's a teacher.
Yeah.
And if that's what's teaching our children to hate, who's the racist?
Agree. Same thing we said. Yep. I agree, sir. So, what bothers me about that is what he was doing. Not only was he within his right or doing his job, frankly, to enforce the law, but he's protecting other people by getting her off her cell phone while she's driving a vehicle.
The irony in that whole video, and it's been proven time and time again, if she would have encountered something bad, if somebody would have tried to attack her or she would have been in a wreck, she would have called 911 on that same phone.
Oh, no question about it. There's no question about it.
That's the irony in the whole thing.
And police officers would have responded.
Whether they know her or not, they'd have came there, they'd have worked a wreck, they would have assisted her if she would have been assaulted in any way, got her medical attention. They would have done their job.
Unbelievable.
They wouldn't have sat there, you're a murderer, you're all that. I get it. You don't like police. That's fine, But how would she feel if a parent walked in that school and said, you're a murderer, you're teaching my kids to hate? The police are the one that would drag them out of that school.
It's true.
And this same, and I'm just talking about her as an individual, not as a teacher.
Yeah.
Please let me make that clear. We fought hard in Pearl and under this administration with Mayor Wyndham and the board that I have to put SROs in every school. And I go back to the shooting in Florida, and I talked about it that night that you were there. I don't have any doubt that my SROs would put themselves between a child and a danger of any kind, because for one, I've already had a couple that's done it, not as a shooter coming into a school, but an irate parent, anything like that could cause danger.
Sure.
They've put themselves in between. I'll even speak in it, and I won't call their name, but we had a shooting in Pearl, occurred at a business. They fled. We were able to catch them. But as the car that these people were involved, that was involved in the shooting, approached close to a school, my SRO locked the school down, got with the principal. They didn't hide. They didn't wait. They went to the car because it was close to the school to make sure if they needed to ram it, they posted at the entrance to the school to protect the kids. So my problem is, the kids, police are bad, police are bad. and you can only call when you need us. That's fine. That's what we're used to.
Yeah.
But these are people, and people. It's general, and it's human nature for people to care, and police care more than your average person.
I would agree, and they don't do it for money either.
No.
Yeah, they got to have a servant's heart.
There's not. I can't tell you an officer that I know that does not work two jobs.
I get it. Representative Shanks, we got just a second here. I just want to point out the members of our legislature and our state leaders, big time supportive of law enforcement.
Absolutely, and
that's critical.
Absolutely, and I'm a reserve police officer myself. A lot of
know
people may
that.
not know that.
Appreciate
yeah.
it. Gentlemen,